to English grammar lesson. My name is Philomena Esi Esuman, teacher presenter for Basic 4. Today we are going to treat whose and which, the use of whose and which. Have you ever used these words to ask a question in any way? Well, sit back and then pay attention whilst we treat this topic. We are going back to our homework and see how best you were able to answer them. Question 1. We like this, these oranges. And the answer is these oranges. We like these oranges. 2. These, thus, teachers like these, thus, teachers are kind. And the answer is these teachers are kind. These teachers are kind. 3. We use that, those caps every day. And the answer is those caps every day. We use those caps every day. Number 4. This is my school. This is my school. 5. Whose books are those? Whose books are those? And 6. Give me that picture. Give me that picture. Hope you chose your answers well. So that is it for the homework. Now, today we are going to look at the use of whose and which in asking questions. So I want you to pay attention. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to use whose and which in asking questions. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to use whose and which in asking questions. So from the very beginning, I asked you if you have ever used these words, whose and which, in asking questions before. We are going to look at how well we can use whose and which in asking questions. So we shall start with whose. How do we use it to ask questions? Whose talk about persons. Whose talk about persons. Whose is used to ask questions. So we use whose to ask questions about persons, okay? We use whose to ask questions about persons. Examples of whose in questions. Examples of whose in questions. Now we have a picture here, and we are going to use whose to ask for the owner of this. Whose dog is that? Whose dog is that? This dog. It is for someone. Who is it for? So we use whose to ask question about a person. Whose dog is that? So you can tell me the dog is for Kofi, the dog is for Mensah, the dog is for my brother. We are asking about a person. That's why we used whose. Let's move forward. Whose car is that? Whose car is that? There's a nice car on the screen. I hope you wish to own one in future. Whose car is this? It means the car is for someone. It is for someone. Whose car is that? Could it be for your father, a friend, or who? It is for somebody, a person. Whose car is that? It's up to you to answer that. Whose mangoes are in the basket? Whose mangoes are in the basket? There are mangoes in this basket. Who are they for? We are looking for the owner of these mangoes. It is for someone. These mangoes are for someone, a person. Who is that person? So, whose mangoes are in the basket? We are using whose to look for the owner of the mangoes in this basket. Whose dress are you wearing? Whose dress are you wearing? There's a very beautiful lady there with a beautiful pink dress. We want to know whose dress she is wearing. Maybe the dress isn't hers. We want to know the owner of the dress, whether it is for her or it is for somebody. So, to ask and know who the dress is for, we use whose to ask such a question. Whose dress are you wearing? We are asking about a person. So remember, whenever you want to use whose, it means you are asking for a person. Whose pen is on your table? Whose pen is on your table? Now there's a young boy here. There's a pen on the table. We want to know the owner of the pen. So we are using whose to ask question about the owner of that pen. So whose pen is on your table? Whose father is sitting there? Whose father is sitting there? Is that your father, your younger brother's or your cousin's father? Whose father is sitting there? We are asking about a person. Who is that person? We are using whose to know the ones whose father is here. Whose father is sitting there? We use whose in asking question about a person. Let's look at another example. Whose child are you taking care of? Whose child are you taking care of? That is a baby here being carried by a young woman. Whose child is she carrying? Whose child are you taking care of? Whose child are you taking care of? Whose dog are you playing with? Whose dog are you playing with? This young boy here is playing with a dog. Whose dog is it? Whose dog are you playing with? Whose food are you eating? Whose food are you eating? Oh, there's a young person here with plate of food in front of her, and she's already eating. Whose food is she eating? Whose food are you eating? Whose daughter is Felicia? Whose daughter is Felicia? So this young girl here is Felicia. Whose daughter is she? We are looking for her mother. Whose daughter is she? And whose is used in asking questions about a person. Okay, so we said whose is used to ask question about a person. Now let's look at the second one, which is which. Which. The use of which. When do we use which? Which is used in asking questions about things and animals. Which is used in asking questions about things and animals. So anything that you find around and you want to ask a question about it, you can use which in asking question. And also you can use which in asking questions about animals. We ask questions about things and animals by using which. So let's look at some examples here. We have shoes. Two different pair of shoes here. Which one do you like? Which of the pair of shoes here do you like? Is it the brown or the red? Which of the pair of shoes do you like? So we are using which to ask about things. Which house is bigger? Which house is bigger? We have two houses on the screen. We want to know which of them is bigger. And since we are asking about thing, which is house, we use which. So which house is bigger? I think this is the biggest. Which book did you take? Which book did you take? Which of the books here did you take? Did you take the yellow, the blue, or the black? Which of the books did you take? We are asking question about things. And what thing are we asking question about? It's about books. Which of them did you take? Which video game did you play? Which video game did you play? I know that children like playing game a lot. Which game, which video game do you like playing? Which video game did you play? Which car do you like? We have different cars here. Which of them do you like? Is it the red, blue, the black, or the white? Which of them do you like? Which ball did you play? Which ball did you play? Which book did you read? Which book did you read? I hope children like reading books. When you go to the library, you go there to read. There are so many books in the library. Which book do you normally go to the library to read? Which book? We are using which because we are asking questions about a thing. Which bag did she buy? Which bag did she buy? She went to the market to buy a bag. What type of bag? Which bag did she buy? Did she buy a blue bag, a pink bag, a yellow bag, small bag, or a big bag? In which year were you born? In which year were you born? Which basket did you bring? Which basket did you bring? We have 4 different baskets with different colors. Maybe you were sent to go for one. Which of them were you sent to go for? Or which of them did you bring? Is it the blue, the green, the pink, or the yellow? Which basket did you bring? Which of these 4 baskets were you sent to bring? All right, learners. So, we have learned today when to use whose and which. I said earlier on that we use whose to ask about persons. We use whose to ask about persons. So anytime, whenever you want to ask a question about a person, then use whose. Okay? Use whose. You can make some sentences or you can ask some questions using whose and show it to your elderly brother or sister to check it for you. We use whose to ask questions about persons. And we use which to ask questions about things and animals. We use which to ask questions about things and animals. So at home, at school, wherever you find yourself, if you want to use which, then you are asking question about a thing, something, could be anything, or about an animal. If you want to ask a question about a person, then you use whose. Whose. So we have come to the end of this lesson, but I cannot leave you like that. I have some homework for you to try your hands on. And in the homework, you are going to underline the correct word from the brackets. Underline the correct word from the brackets. So let's go over the homework. Which, whose bottle do you like? So before you choose your answer, you check. Is the question asking about a person, a thing, or an animal? Then you will know which of them to use or which of them to underline. 2. Which, whose father bought you the watch? 3. In whose, which month do you celebrate your birthday? 4. Which, whose child did you send? And 5. Whose, which mother sells Kenke. All right, I will leave you at this time to copy the homework. All right, learners, you are welcome back. Thank you for staying until the end of this lesson. And at this point, I hope you now know when to use which and whose in asking questions. So we've come to the end of today's lesson. Until we come again, it's bye for now.